Hi, I'm Tom Antion. Welcome to my Wake 'em Up presentation system. There are literally hundreds of advanced, yet easy to implement, presentation skills tips that you can use to be the hit of your next presentation. Let's get started now. Come with me to Lanham, Maryland, where the participants and I had a great day learning the Wake 'em Up presentation system.
Give a warm welcome to Tom Antion.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Oh, no. Am I on?
No.
Oh, great. You don't think I'm going to mess up this early in the program, do you? Huh? Oh, you look great. I mean, look at the little accent she's got on this program now. It does look good. I'm a new designer now. That is it. Oh, boy. Wow. That's a confetti cannon. That's one of the props I use. And I'm here to tell you about how to make an event out of normal business presentations. Now, don't get worried that everything's going to be that crazy. I'm going to give you mild things and outrageous things to increase your range so that you can please more varied audiences. But a program like this doesn't come off without a lot of help. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and get the real microphone. I think you can hear me, but is that all right now? Yeah, there we go. I think you can hear me now. Is that all right? Okay, good. A program like this doesn't come off without a lot of help. This is a volunteer and a benefit event, and there's several people I'd like to recognize. One is Brandy, my intern. In the back, you will see Nancy Reed on your right, who has got her own presentation skills. Oh, wait a minute, we'll give her a round of applause here. She's got her own great presentation skills company called The Name Out.
Reed and Associates.
Now, another creative name like Antion and Associates, right? And to your left is Joelle Norwood and her company. Airwaves teaches you how to be great on the media. And this is very important, and we're going to talk about media marketing in the last segment today for those of you that hang in there for the Speak for Money segment. So let's give them a round of applause. Wait a minute. I got some dumb questions for you. Isn't this a benefit seminar for one of the most cost-efficient, helpful places, cystic fibrosis in the country? I think whether they get 90, 80% of their, isn't this a good benefit for them? Right.
Yes.
Right. All right. Isn't this room full of an elite group of speakers and trainers and business people that realize the value of excitement and impact at meetings?
Absolutely.
Well then, how do you explain to me, if those two questions are true, how you would give some of our esteemed volunteers such a pitiful round of applause? When I want a round of applause, I want a hoot and holler and scream and whistling round of applause. Let's hear it for our volunteers today. That's the level of enthusiasm that I want today. Do not forget that level of enthusiasm. Believe me, I won't let you. Now, a little bit about me. I am very technique-oriented. And what that means is I'm not a touchy-feely kind of guy that's going to come up here and tell you, well, be with your audience and all those kinds of things. I don't relate to those. I'm technique-oriented, which means to me that anybody can do this. I took a prince from Africa one time, could barely speak English, got him a standing ovation on his introduction. All right? All right, so these are techniques that you'll learn today. That means anybody here can do them. All right, that's what I do. Now, you've got a handout there. It's a red handout with my smiling face on the cover. You can take a peek at that right away. I'm going to go through that a little bit with you. Everybody got their red handout. Mine is not red, and here's a video tip for you. The red and white are not the greatest for video. And me standing up here holding a big white piece of paper, this is gray. I printed mine out on gray. You might see David Letterman has his cue cards on blue. okay? Because I don't want the lights reflecting off of this when you're on video. All right, so that's why I wore this. That's why I wore a blue shirt that if you see the video is going to look white. Okay, so we're going to throw in tips like that during the day. Now, everybody got that, right? Now, you did get a book and then an order form. Forget the order form right now. The book will be your reference for today. You're not obligated to buy this book, but I think you'll see that's a great value as we go along. We'll be referring to it during the day. If you don't want it, just leave it as you leave. Now, the first part, why great communication skills are important to you. Help me out here. Who want to read? Somebody read the first one for me. Who's going to? Margaret, you going to help me with that?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, Margaret.
I can't find it quite yet.
Okay, you got to get the handout open. Right, there we go. All right.
Why great communication skills are important to you.
Okay.
Your
Oh, I'm in the light. I'm in her light. Excuse me, Margaret. Okay.
Right.
Well, come on up here then. Come on up here. We'll get this nice red coat on video.
Right, which you said was.
All right, what's the first one?
You will move up the ladder faster in your career.
You will. All right, thank you, Margaret. You did a good job. That didn't hurt you too. Oh, you want to read all of them? All right, she's going to read all of them.
My one moment in the.
Okay, you can have it.
Sit down.
No, you can have it, Margaret.
Okay.
But let's talk about that one. Are you in a career, Margaret? Or are you doing speaking as a career?
I'm a career counselor.
Okay, in a career, would you agree that communication skills are very important for the people you counsel?
Absolutely. I'm training people and teaching people every day on communication skills.
Which, in fact, there's studies that support that their communication skills will be a better predictor of their success than their actual technical skills
Correct.
in whatever work they do.
In fact, people are hired for their technical abilities, their skills. They are fired because of their interpersonal or communication skills.
There you go. So that's one of the reasons we're here. What's the next one?
Okay. You will be less likely to get the axe.
Well, that kind of ties into what you just said, right? Yeah, there we go. You read ahead.
Was right.
There you go.
You will sell more of your ideas, products, and services.
And this is important to everybody, not just professional speakers. If you're in business, you're always selling something. Everybody in here is a salesperson. Your ideas at business meetings, if you are a speaker, you'll sell your products. You may be the product or your services.
It's true. Yesterday, I gave a talk on marketing yourself. You market yourself every day, whether you're looking for a job or whatever.
Exactly right. And it's all communication based.
That's right. All right, next. Your confidence and self-esteem will rise.
When you're able to move people to action, to stand up here and do this, you feel better about yourselves. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about a study I've been doing about stage fright and a little later about the self-esteem levels that are being created in many of our children and how that affects your communication skills later. So if you can get the communication skills, it'll help your self-esteem and confidence rise.
You will be better able to do good things and move people to action.
And that's the whole key about this. I'm not standing up here just to hear myself talk today. I want to move you from where you are now somewhere else. I'm hoping it's in a better direction, but I don't want you sitting where you are. I want you to move, and that's what you all do when you stand up at a business meeting or a speech. Your goal is to get people to do something. Hopefully it'll be in the good, but if it's better to do something and fail at it than to do nothing. Because you learn from the failure. Doing nothing, you don't learn from.
To be heard.
To be heard, and I'm going to go into that on the flip chart here. Let's hear it for Margaret. Yeah, let's hear it for Margaret. That's right, that's right. To be heard. They're getting autographs from Margaret up here, all right.
Love it.
To be heard. Do you see this little graph that you have on your handout there? Follow along with me. The problem, one of the big problems is in the kind of the basis of my system, the Wake 'em Up system, is that people were born with a remote control in their hand. They came out of the womb, Mike, and ready to flick you into oblivion on a moment's notice. Right? Even people of our age group, our minds are being rewired because of information, what? Overload. We're being bombarded with information from all directions. So it's your job when you get up there to use specific attention-gaining devices. I don't care what your message is. If you can't keep their attention, it's not going to get through. To do this, you need to understand the listening pattern of an audience, and that's what this graph is about. Now, I'm not the greatest artist in the world. You can see that. They got one of these giant Magnum markers here. 44 Magnum. Okay, the typical presentation starts out here during the introductory period with a fairly high interest level. This graph would be interest, and this axis would be time. Now, at the introductory level, you have a fairly high interest level. Then the presenter, a typical presenter, not a professional like I'm going to turn you all into, tells some stupid, unrelated joke, and the interest level goes way down. Right? And then they start their topic. Well, I'm going to talk to you about the Lanham sewer system. And interest level goes way down. Okay. All right. This is not good. Right here is sleep. This is rapid eye movement sleep here, and this is coma right there, okay? This is not good. And then, whatever time length this is, you get a sharp rise in interest, and that's when the speaker says, in conclusion, and people are getting their shoes back on and getting their purses and ready to get out. And then they keep on rambling and just fade off into oblivion. This is no good. This is not the pattern you want. If you get somebody down there, it's too hard to get them back. All right? You don't want to let them down there ever. This is the kind of pattern that you want. It's more like this, where you give them some information and you hit them with an attention-gaining device to pique them again. Let them down a little bit. Hit them again. Let them down. Hit them again. Let them down. And in an adult audience, these peaks or attention-gaining devices that you'll learn during the day today should be no more than 5 to 7 minutes before you do some type of attention-gaining device. The younger your audience is, the closer together these peaks are. If you're doing youth like Bill, my buddy, does, several times per minute, Bill. And you know it because you face these youngsters at very short attention span. They grew up in a full color environment with computer screens coming at them left and right, not like we did, okay? So it's your job to use these attention-gaining devices. And I'll tell you what, well, they don't have it right here, but you know, these lecterns, we try to stay out from behind these if possible. These are barriers to communication. But normally, what do you see on here? Like an advertisement, Ramada Inn or Best Western, whatever. That's not there as an advertisement for the hotel. That's there so the people wake up, they know where they are when they you know what hotel they're in. That's what that is for. You didn't know that, did you? So this is what you want. This is probably the gist of what we're going to do today. We're going to learn how to knock them into attention during the course of a presentation, no matter what it is. If it's on the radio, it might be a soundbite. Joelle, one of our volunteers, is a media trainer. She's not going to let you go on. You're going to be off the air in 5 to 7 minutes. You're going to be off the air in 3 minutes, okay? So you can't afford to go that long, and that's another thing I'll teach you later in storytelling, is that you have different lengths of the same story. I have a story that I can tell on the radio in a minute. I can tell if my time gets cut in 2 minutes, or I can drag it out to 5 minutes if I have a longer time period to fill. So these are the techniques and things you have ready as a professional, because this happens to you. Your time gets cut. Somebody doesn't show up. They say, can you do another session for us? And you have to be able to expand and contract, and that's what pros can do, okay? So that's what that listening patterns is all about. Now, we'll go through the handout here, tell you what we're in for today a little bit. You'll see creating great presentations. I'm not real logical, but if I write things down, I can keep them going in a fairly decent progression. So the first thing we're going to go through today is pre-program work. All the things that you do and all the things that I do to guarantee that I hit a home run every time I go. And this can be questionnaires, phone interviews, things like that. Then we're going to talk about room setup. You see we're in a semicircular seating pattern. You're going to learn why that's a real good method to seat people. You're going to learn about the lighting in the room, the sound system, and how it all affects your final program. Then I'll tell you what, we're going to talk about this right now, this stage fright deal. We're not going to dwell on this a lot today. If this happens to be one of your problems, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I have on my website, there's a lot of free stuff on my website, so you can go get articles and everything. But I want to tell you about this survey I'm doing. I surveyed 5,000 professional speakers and trainers around the world. Now, not all of them responded, admittedly. Not a small percentage responded. But the ones that did, what I found is that the stage fright that people have, and you know, the book of lists says that's like the biggest fear of anything. You could rather be dead in the casket than doing the eulogy, that kind of thing. What I found was that this stage fright, you didn't get it when you were born. Something happened to you between then and now. And what it was, and what I'm finding, is that the way your parents treated you, if they encouraged you to speak at family gatherings, or if they told you to shut up and be quiet, all right, that affects the way you feel about yourself later. So I found out a tremendous number of things how you can overcome stage fright. You never really, you can overcome it, but most people don't. They learn to control it. And there's many techniques. There's about 50 of them in the book. If you have this particular problem, I'll be glad to follow up with you. Anybody hear of Laurence Olivier? The best actors in the world? Severe stage fright. Almost debilitating stage fright. Anybody old enough to remember Johnny Carson? Yeah, Johnny. Yeah. Johnny Carson, I've been told, every day for the 30 years he walked on that stage had severe stage fright. Didn't stop him, did it? Learn to control it. All right, so that's all we're going to talk about stage fright. If anybody wants to look into that further, I'll be glad to help you. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, next progression, would be your introductions. Many of you in business would introduce yourself at a meeting. Many of you may be known already to your business group, so you wouldn't need an introduction, but there's still introductory material. Then how you handle an introduction with an introducer, all the ins and outs of what's appropriate for that. Then we go into openings, how you open a presentation. People are thinking, well, what should I say? Well, there's techniques and things for you to pick from, like quotations and outrageous statements, things and it's all technique. And what you do is when you have to develop a presentation, you just go through these different choices and pick what you want to do and then pick the material. And developing your presentations will be a lot easier. Okay, now the next page, we'll go through the body of the presentation. And this is where I teach you, in the next segment, I'm going to teach you a technique that is one of the most valuable and used by professionals all over the world, so that you can prepare a polished presentation without taking any more time from your day. And so it gets rid of using notes when you're delivering the actual material. All right, that's going to be in the second segment. We're going to go through many of the attention-gaining devices here to show you what to do and how to vary them so people don't even know that they're happening, but they're being knocked into the attention span every so often, and they don't even know it, and that gives them a chance to hear your material. Then we'll talk about closings, and then if we have time, we'll talk about post-program work, what you do after the program to follow up with meetings. By the way, that confetti is a nice little accent in your hair. I mean, you don't see that everywhere you go, you know. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I have a terrible memory, and I'm going to show you a technique and also use the technique during today where I take one of my major weaknesses and turn it into a positive. So I need a scorekeeper. Somebody for at least the first half of today will keep me on track. Who would volunteer to help me with that? And I can wait you out. Here we go. Here's my scorekeeper. The book that you got when you came in, you keep it for helping me out, all right? All right, let's hear it for her since she was bold enough. I can't hear you. Excuse me. Thank you. All right. Now, you're going to help me. Whenever I cue you, you say, okay, what's next? All right. Now, here's what that thing. Oh, now, why were you late, ma'am? No, I know why you were late. I know why you were late, believe me. We're glad to have you. Thanks for coming in. The technique is, well, the principle is nobody up here is perfect. Everybody, every one of us has certain weaknesses and fears about being up here that they're not as good in a certain area. Well, mine is, my memory is pretty bad. I don't know why. I just can't think of things. But I don't think today you'll ever notice that. And here's why. I take that negative and turn it into a positive by recruiting an audience member, which is an involvement technique. So I turned my negative into an involvement technique. This person is going to be glued to this handout so they don't look like a fool, all right, and losing place. And whenever an audience member is involved, the other audience members really get a kick out of that. Hey, one of our people was involved in this presentation. And so you try to get as many people as you can involved during the course of a day. In this case, I'm going to ask, and what is your first name?
Christine.
Christine, to tell me where we should start. We're right here. I'll help her get started. Okay, pre-program work, right? All right, now you keep close on. Now, if you'd refer to your book to page 10 to 14. 10 to 14. And what you will see is the beginning of how I create a home run presentation every time I go. It is called a pre-program questionnaire. Now, some of you that are in a business and do a regular weekly presentation will not be using this questionnaire for that purpose. But if you go to a new group or a different area, you may want to use this. And if you're a professional speaker going to different organizations all the time, you will definitely use this as a starting point. What this is a series of questions that allow me to start to get to know who I'm speaking to. This is critical information because it allows you, and Alan here is an expert in rapid rapport, right? And it allows you to learn the things that you need to know to help create that rapport. And there's questions like, how much money do they make? What are their educational levels of the audience? Because you wouldn't want to be cracking an intellectual joke to people that are maybe a lower level in the educational scale, because you wouldn't connect with them. You want to know how much money they make in general. You wouldn't want to be cracking mutual fund jokes to people that are having trouble making their car payment, okay, and vice versa, all right? So the more information that you know about the audience, the better you will do when you get there. Now, what's the first one that I mentioned? I pulled out some of these. There's a great list of them, but I pulled out some of the more critical ones, and I'll tell you what they mean. What's the first one there?
All male or all female?
Okay. One of the questions is what is the percentage of male and females in the audience? Now, believe me, I am not sexist, but there is a significant difference if you have an all-female or an all-male audience, and it changes if you are a male presenter or a female presenter. So I'm going to talk about some of those differences now. First of all, if you have an all-female audience, you can expect laughter to come much easier if you say something funny. You can expect more agreement of people like Margaret just did, shaking her head at me, and some of the other ladies in the crowd when I said that. Sue right there is agreeing with me. So, if you have an all-female audience, you probably don't need to go through as long a warm-up period because they are more likely to laugh and go along with things that you do. Now, if you have an all-male audience, you have a little bit of trouble on your hands because an all-male audience, the ego is way up here. They look at each other to see if the other guys laugh and to see if it's okay to laugh. And the worst is if you go to a place where the CEO is in the room and you have a bunch of executives, and I hate to say it, still to this day, most of them will be male, the high-level executives. I'm sorry, that's the way it is, and I hope that you equal that out because when I go speak to you, y'all get more laughter, see? But that's the worst because all the executives will look to the CEO for permission to laugh. And if the CEO doesn't laugh, then they either won't laugh or they'll stifle a laugh, and it just messes you up. It just throws your timing off, and it's terrible. So here's what you do about that. If you're getting paid to come in to a place, and it can be a lot of money, I go and seek out the CEO. First of all, I'm the one up here looking like a fool with the microphone. So I have no problem going and talking to the CEO ahead of time and say, listen, from my experience I tell them, I brag it up, 2,000 paid presentations. I said, you know, if you at least act like you're having a good time, okay? You know, you brought me in to liven things up today, and here's one of the key indicators. All these people revere you. You know, I butter them up a little bit too. And if you don't laugh and go along with some of the humor and jokes and excitement and fun, they won't either. And the money you spent on me is largely wasted. And believe me, these people are visionary people. They want the big picture, and they're likely to go along with you when you explain to them what's going on. If you don't, they're going to sit there buried in their thoughts of, 5 years from now, we've got to make a new division, and they're thinking differently than the executives are thinking because they're visionaries. So you have to explain to them what's going on and get their approval and get them to go along with you for your success. So anyway, big difference between all male and all female audiences. Pay close attention to it and find out before you get there. All right, what's the next there, Chris? The size of the audience. The way this affects you is that the smaller the group, the shorter and more crisp your material should be, which means no long stories, no long jokes, one line, if you're going to use humor, one-liners at most, crisp, short humor and material. The bigger the audience gets, the longer the stories can get, longer humor, you can get away with a lot more things because they're there as an event more than usually a small group is a business type meeting. So it changes. Also, in a large group, your material will take longer to deliver because you have to reach the people way in the back, like Brandy and Joelle back there. And you get a wave effect, especially if you say something funny. The people right in front of you or that are right there with you get it and laugh. Boom. And then it kind of goes back. The people in the middle were like, maybe they can't see you as close, so they didn't get it. And then the people way in the back, a lot of times are the peanut gallery cheap seat people, and they're not paying attention anyway. So then they see everybody else laughing, and then they laugh. So it comes in waves, and so it takes longer to deliver a presentation to a bigger audience. So that's just some of the logistics. And you try to keep as close as possible to the furthest member of the audience. And that has to do with room setup that we'll talk about shortly, because distance is a barrier. Just like this lectern would be a barrier, just like this table would be a barrier if I was behind it. Distance is a barrier. So I had a buddy of mine trying to do stand-up comedy across a dance floor. He was on one side, the crowd was on the other side. This is not good, okay? So close the distance, and that's room set will help you with that. All right, what's next?
Indoors, outdoors.
Indoor and outdoors. If in fact somebody comes to you and asks you to do something at our picnic, let's say, big sirens should go off in your head, okay? Big problems with this, and here's some of the specifics of it. First of all, visuals you might as well forget. You know, I'll request a high intensity. They have special high intensity overhead projectors and things. I'll request it. It won't be there. Okay, so I'll get a Radio Shack piece of junk like this is, and you won't be able to see the visuals. So forget visuals if you're outdoors. If you're using a flip chart, you got to weight it down with sandbags pretty much, because, or hang a weight off of here like a dumbbell thing, because the wind will blow it over. You've got wind noise, you've got distractions. Even if you're in a tent, you know, things will be happening all over the place. Dogs will run. I had a dog run through, you know. You cannot compete with dogs or babies, all right? So outdoors, as big bells should ring, and you got to control these as you being the professional, because many people, they get a bright idea. Oh boy, this would be great to have something out at our picnic. Well, they don't think about all the logistics of making it happen. So it's your job to advise them as the professional on what to do to make this work, or else can it all together. And most of the time, I'll get them to switch to putting us indoors for the speech and then go out and just have fun at the picnic. Because, I mean, I've had people, it wasn't me speaking, thank God, but people were playing cards in the audience out there. So this is not a good wake 'em up thing. Okay, what's next?
Time of day.
Time of day. time of day affects your presentation in that in the early morning, especially in the United States, people are not conditioned to be like real lively and fun. All right. So now you might get lucky sometimes, but don't count on it. One time a sales speaker, David Rich, asked me to open up a sales seminar for him at 8 a.m. He says, "Oh, you're funny. Get him going for me before I get on." I said, "David, this is not right. They're not going to be awake." He said, "Oh, you can do it." I get on there. I do a couple pieces of humor, nothing. I mean, they're stone-faced. I cut the humor, bring him on. He tries some humor, nothing. And I'm an audience watcher. I go out and sit in the audience. 10:15 a.m., they're laughing at anything. They're laughing at the chalkboard. They're laughing at, the coffee is, they're laughing at everything. So it's a time of day issue. So the reason you need to know this is because what you don't want to do is if you have some real good tested material, deliver it at a time when people are not receptive to it, see? Because the last thing you want to do is deliver the good material and they don't laugh, which brings your enthusiasm level down, and the whole thing starts to snowball downhill. What you do is you come on and do more content-oriented material. Don't forget the humor, just come on, thank everybody, get rolling. And then as the morning progresses, humor will emerge and you can start using some of your humorous material, okay? So that's time of day in the morning. Now, brunch and lunch are considered the best times of day to speak because the people that are early risers are not yet tired, and the people that are late risers are now awake. So brunch and lunch are considered the best times of day to speak. And then as you go in the afternoon, people start to get tired. Now you can use humor, but don't expect as hearty of a response because they're getting tired. And don't expect them to absorb as much. So you can't really beat them to death with heavy content either in the afternoon. Same holds true for after dinner speaking. Sometimes I'm doing an after dinner thing and the awards go on until, they're bringing the chef out to give them an award and they're sending for anybody to get an award. And so there's 10, one time I did this, it was 15 minutes till 8. No, 9. Yeah, well, that's no problem, 15 minutes to 9, other than the fact that Monday Night Football is on at 9, and the hospitality suite is right next door. Let's bring on Tom. It's 8:45. These people are like, we're going to
get this over fast.
Yeah. So you have, first of all, as a pro, you check with the meeting planner. Listen, these people are going to kill all of us if we're not in there to watch the game. Get clearance from them because some people will make you do your whole hour or whatever it is, no matter what. But some people that are smart will let you do your thing. And if you go in and explain to them, look, these people they're not listening now, and they want to watch the football game. So I came on at 8:45. I said, I'll tell you what, I know that I'm the only thing standing between you and that kickoff. All right? So first of all, I'm using a football example, but you acknowledge that you know what the audience is thinking, rather than having them worried about it the whole time that you're just going to keep talking for a half hour and miss the kickoff. So I said, I know I'm the only thing between you and the kickoff. I'm going to limit my comments to 13.7 minutes. And you are going to be in that room for the kickoff. You with me? Yeah, they were with me, all right? And then you can do whatever you want for that 13.7 minutes and don't disappoint them. Put them in there, all right? So that's how time of day affects it. And these are all, remember back, part of your pre-programmed questionnaire. You want to know what's happening before you, what's happening after you, what's going on so that you can make those kind of comments. Had I not been thinking Monday Night Football's on, I'd start my normal presentation and wonder, why in the heck is everybody looking so nasty and not paying attention to me? But I knew ahead of time and was able to do something. We're talking pre-programmed work here. In fact, the bulk of my work is done before I ever get to the state that I'm speaking in.